All right, I'll share my screen real quick. All right, can you guys see my screen okay? Okay, all right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Z Factor Fellowship Information Panel. My name is Simran. I'm a 2021 Z Factor Fellow, and I'm joined by three amazing fellows from my class, Thushan, Rishi, and Sumaiyah. So for a quick rundown on the information panel today, I'll be giving a quick presentation on the fellowship, and then we'll switch into a panel style discussion, and then we'll be taking your questions towards the end of the session. So the Z Factor Fellowship is an incredible opportunity for undergraduate students who come from underrepresented backgrounds to receive an internship in the industry, get mentorship from some of the most important people in the industry, and really network and bond with their class of fellows. And also another unique aspect of the program is the community service project that each fellow gets to do, which I'll explain more later. Um, but the fellowship was founded by four amazing leaders in the aerospace industry: Carrie Lamack, Karina Perez, Thais Jones, and Dr. Tanya Harrison. They have really come together and changed the lives of all of us fellows, and so many more to come. The opportunity that they have created can be a stepping stone of your career, as it was for me, and something you have been waiting for to get your foot in the door in aerospace. So we're incredibly thankful towards them in so many ways. And we also have three founding partners for the fellowship. George Sarkodui, Ryan Udell, and Obi Anyadegu. They've been instrumental in the founding of the fellowship, and just have been a source of information, inspiration for all of us. And they've also been great mentors and supporters for us along the way. So the fellowship recognizes the fact that the aerospace industry is still not there when it comes to diversity and inclusion, and having more minority groups represented and given opportunities. And although there's been a lot of progress, there are still so many things that can be done to speed up the progress. So according to the Aviation Week's 2018 Aerospace Workforce Study, 55% of Black students, 49% of Hispanic or Latino students, and 48% of female students expressed an interest in aerospace careers, which is quite an impressive numbers. But in reality, only 7% of the new hires in 2018 identified as Black or Latinx. Black engineering students comprise 4% of engineering undergraduates, and 33% of them graduate from historically Black colleges and universities. So the numbers are very low when it comes to females and gender minorities, and also international students representation in aerospace. So the solution, the fellowship was created in order to break the barriers for minority groups and give them an opportunity, to get hands-on and practical experience in the industry and work in some of the leading companies of the aerospace industry today. We truly recognize talent, hard work, determination, and grit shown by people in the underrepresented groups, and help them showcase that to the rest of the world. So what the fellowship really is it provides you with 5 very unique opportunities. So it gives you a summer internship, gives you a mentorship from an executive level mentor and also a young professional mentor, gives you opportunities for professional development, lifelong network of fellows and mentors, and also a community service project. So the community service project is something that the fellows create by themselves. It is a great way for them to, identify the communities and create an impact through the project that they believe in. And this way, the fellowship makes sure that it not only creates an impact on the life of one fellow, but the entire community that they represent, which is very unique. And the project, it can be as simple as being a mentor to someone from your community, or as ambitious as creating an organization or a website, or even organizing a conference of your own. So moving towards the requirements of being able to apply for the fellowship, you need to identify with one or more underrepresented communities in aerospace. You need to have a passion for aerospace. You need to demonstrate technical or non-technical skills and show leadership potential. And you don't need to have a previous internship experience. And for a lot of us, the internship that we got through Z Factor was our first one. And you need to be an undergraduate student with a completed 30 plus credit hours by the time of application. And then for this year's class, which was our first class, we had around 189 applicants from over 115 colleges and universities. 23 fellows were selected, and we had over 5 professional development events since the time we were declared fellows, and also 1 leadership summit during the summer. And then here is a picture of all of us 23 Z Factor fellows, or ZIs as we like to call ourselves. And then the application is open. The deadline is on January 3rd, which is coming up very soon. So please take time to apply and just work past that discomfort and imposter syndrome that's holding you back. We require 3 application essays, your resume or CV, and a transcript. The 2 letters of recommendations are optional, but they're highly recommended as they will help us understand you better. So go out there and put your best application in and show us your passion, and we'll help you show that to the rest of the world. And here are some pictures. Our class has not had a chance to meet in person, so everything that we've done so far has been virtual, but that might change during the summer. So I'll just stop sharing my screen, and then we'll move on to the panel style discussion so that you can hear from other amazing 3 ZIs. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Thushan, Rishi, and Sumaiyah, you can go ahead.
Sure, I can go first. Thanks, Simran, for that presentation. So my name is Fernando. I'm a senior at North Carolina State University and a mechanical engineering major. And this year, through Z Factor, I interned at Wisk Aero with Simran. Yeah, I think whoever else wants to go can go next.
Thanks for having me, Thushan. My name is Rishi Patel. I'm a 3rd-year aerospace engineering student at Virginia Tech. This past summer, I had the privilege of interning at Aerospace Industries Association, or AIA, in Arlington, Virginia. And I guess I can give a word about what my community service project is. It's essentially integrating aerospace curricula within a teacher's classroom. So taking the calculus class, which is what my project is, and actually introducing aerospace related classwork, homework, and activities and demos. So yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Shihipar. I'm a senior studying mechanical engineering at the University of Texas at Arlington. And for my fellowship over the summer, I got to intern at Zeno Power Systems, which is in Washington, D.C.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. So the first question that I have for all of you, and you can take turns to answer, what are some of the things that you put your application when you applied for the Z Factor Fellowship that helped you stand out? Sumaiyah, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I didn't want to cut anyone off. I was sure to add in like my experiences and why I was interested in space to begin with, but I also talked about what I wanted to do in the future, specifically what I wanted to change in the aerospace industry. I think everyone applying has ideas of what they want space to look like in the future. So that was something that I talked about, and it was less about what I did versus more about like where I want to be and how the fellowship would help me do that, whether that's in terms of like community service and outreach or just like my career goals and like building a network to help me do that.
Absolutely. Like I relate to that because I grew up, kind of struggling to get into aviation and aerospace. And when I got to college, a lot of opportunities were given to me. And so when I was applying to Zed, a couple of the things that I put in my application were like my most like passionate thing about space, which is about going to Europa and searching for life, which I'm sure Thushan can relate to. And also putting in kind of talking about my community service project in detail and why it meant so much to me to give back to students who also want to go into here, but may fear that they're not good enough to get into the aerospace field, or that opportunities and that are available in the field are limited to them because of financial reasons and things like that.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of I think more what Sumaiyah said with, where you want to see yourself in the future and the aerospace industry. I think it was really important for me to add like very clear goals with specifics. And because I think most everybody here will probably have, some areas that they're really interested in that they maybe have some concrete ideas about or views. And I definitely did, but I still needed to reflect on a lot of things, which I definitely recommend. But a lot of the goals of Z Factor with like the, community service, like academic outreach type stuff, it really falls in line with what I wanted to do anyway. With Rishi mentioned like Europa and Search for Life and stuff like that. That's pretty much been my angle at this, and I guess advocating for those missions has always been important. So that kind of fell in line with my community service project. So I had some details, and not to worry, like you don't need to have everything lined up perfectly. You can change. I changed my community service idea. Is different from the one that I included in the essay, but yeah, so you don't need to have all the details hammered out, but have at least some approaches in your mind, and yeah, include those in your essay.
All right, thank you, everyone. And we talked a lot about community service throughout the session, right? So, and community service is a very unique and an important part of the fellowship. So it might be helpful if we could talk more about it. So what was some of your community service project ideas, and how did you go about choosing which project you would eventually put in your essay and pursue as a fellow?
I can start off. So for me, I was a bit lucky because in my senior year of high school, I had a capstone project, and the goal of that capstone project for me was to develop a free ground school education website for students to learn flying. And that's still up. And I kind of took inspiration from that because being in college, a lot of the issues that I wanted to tackle in capstone really were still going on. And I was introduced to space for the first time. And, I knew in my high school that a lot of kids from where I came from were interested in technical stuff. And, occasionally I still get messages like on LinkedIn saying like, hey, I'm really interested in aerospace. Like, can you help me out? And so I knew that I wanted to tackle that again, but on a larger scale, on a more influential scale. And so that's where I went to integrating aerospace material into classrooms. Just to give a quick note on the community service project, when you are designing these and developing these, it can sometimes feel defeating that like, oh, I'm not making a big enough impact on a community, or I'm not helping as many people as I should be. There was one, I believe it was on the website, there was one quote that really helped me out was, if you're helping one person, that's more than enough. The smallest impact does make a difference. So whatever you're passionate about, Even if it affects one person, that is all you need to have a successful community service project.
Yeah, so regarding my community service project, I think originally I planned to do something specifically with the high school that I went to. I guess creating kind of like more aerospace programs within my high school. But like I said, with some of my goals in the aerospace industry, I really decided that later on, I really changed that plan to make it more specific to the search for life. And sorry, my cat's loud. I don't know if you can hear that. But he, I mean, sorry. Yeah, so yeah, I changed it, the topic to the search for life. And I wanted to have as much reach as possible. So I wanted to, I had like big plans first, like kind of like Rishi was saying, like reaching as many people as possible. But I thought it would be better to start smaller. And mine is still underway, so I'm still working on it. And yeah, sorry, that was a little long-winded. But yeah, I'm kind of building up to it. And then I think the reason I changed my mind, I think it's just more in keeping with my goals, and I think I could do a better job at it. So like I said, you can change your mind and change the details. You don't have to stick with what you wrote down in your essay. But yeah, starting small, just echo Rishi, starting small is a good idea in my opinion. But it's also, you can take whatever approach you want to this. It doesn't have to be just like a presentation of any sort. Like you can, make a tool of some kind that people can find useful. But yeah, sorry, that was a little bit long-winded.
No, I love that. And I wanted to say, don't be shy, show us your cat. I heard it throughout the entire speech. I wanted to say something on similar notes, which is focus on the concept and what I talked about earlier about what you want to change in the aerospace industry. I wanted to focus on getting girls interested in aerospace engineering. I think that the way I was introduced to space was like outer space and rockets and sending things to the moon and cool stuff. And that was enough to get me excited and interested about space. But I think outer space is more than just cool stuff. It's for sustainable development. And we can see this from like global satellite positioning systems to like detect areas of famine and drought in the world. And I think if girls were introduced to space in that narrative, as opposed to like colonizing Mars and the space race, which makes it seem like outer space is only for a select few or just the elite, that more girls would be inclined to pursue a career in outer space or in just aerospace engineering in general. So I would say the same advice Thushan said, is that think about like what it is that you want to change, what impact you want to make, and then the different avenues you could take to pursue it.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And, as I've mentioned before, you can start small, you can start big, you can start anywhere you want. And the fellowship really helps you with getting the funds needed or the mentors or resources for you to, kickstart the project that you have and also sustain it for as long as you want. For me, I think my community service project is organizing an aerospace conference in Nepal. So I was born and raised in Nepal. I'm an international student in the US. And so for me, this project meant a lot because I wanted to create an impact that could sustain by itself. So sustainability was a great aspect for me to start thinking about my community service project, because I wanted to create something that would have like a ripple effect on the people that I wanted to provide an impact on. And through this conference, I wanted to make sure that I, organize it annually so that it can sustain for a longer time and also have an impact on university students from where I grew up. And for me, it was very overwhelming to begin with because organizing a conference it's very challenging, but the founders and the mentors that I've received from the fellowship has really, really helped me, navigate my way through starting out with organizing the conference to connecting me with people who could really help me. So no matter how big or small your project is, the fellowship really recognizes that. And, as Rishi mentioned, it's not the matter of how many lives you can impact, but if you can only impact one life or change that one life, it really, really shows how passionate you are. And we really value that. So think it through and, don't worry about polishing it. And you can like do it as you go with the fellowship, but just put something that you're super passionate about, and the fellowship really likes to see that. So thank you so much, everyone. I think that really helps out with everyone that had questions regarding the community service project. So we'll start moving on to kind of our experience as being a Z Factor Fellow. So what are some of the highlights that you've had throughout the fellowship or your time as a Z Factor Fellow, whether it's your internship or the summit that we had?
Yeah, for me, I would definitely say the internship and a lot of the interesting people that I met. So, it's a great networking opportunity, not just with other fellows, but, the interesting people that you'll meet at your respective, companies that you intern at. And yeah, when I worked at Wisk, so I was in systems engineering. I was in a configurations management department. And there were several projects that I had to interview several other department heads or just representatives from other departments. And it was just really cool to, because I would couple that with kind of just basic networking in general on top of the project that I had to do. I'd sneak in some networking. But we would get to know them. And when I say we, there were two other fellows that were actually in my department too. I was leading the project, but they were at the meetings as well. So we were able to meet so many different people. And because, it was just a really good company culture at Wisk. And I got to speak with the CEO, actually, Gary Geisen. That was one of the highlights. He actually gave me some good advice about maybe going down the entrepreneurial path. And I thought that was really interesting and kind of changed my mind on a lot of things. And it's interesting because that kind of snowballed. My executive mentor through the fellowship is also another interesting person as well, who was also somewhat entrepreneurially minded. So I was able to kind of do a lot of good networking, and those are two highlights, I would say. Talking to my executive mentor and talking with the CEO at Wisk, just because I was able to like identify overlapping areas of interest and just really like pick their brain. And I think really the people are what made the fellowship really valuable. Just even with other fellows, it's been a blast just getting to know them and asking each other questions about our goals and our community service projects and each of our internship experiences. So a lot of the highlights are really more to do with the people, and I'm looking forward to really getting hitting the ground running with this community service project of mine, because I'm sure I'll have similar experiences with that. So yeah, that's just a little bit about some of the highlights for me.
Yeah, I really relate to that. I think the internship was definitely one of the biggest highlights. Being able to travel remotely and, having lunch with my supervisor at AIA, going into the CEO's office, and being able to have a great conversation with him. And also the different kind of networking that you get to do with other fellows. You're always surrounded by, some of the brightest people in the world. And you get to have some great conversations through connections with your executive and young professional mentors. Mine in particular were both remote, but they gave me great advice for, things to do post-grad, how the industry works and things that that I can do for myself while I'm in college. And one question that they gave me that I never really thought about, but always is now still ringing in my head is, what's your dream job? What would you love to do? And that's a tough question. And it's something that I don't think you'll figure out at a precise moment. It's something that I think you have to just keep going through life and get enough experience to know, hey, I like this more than this. Some of the other highlights was definitely being able to participate in some of the non-related work items that I got invited to. Actually, like, for example, I got invited to a Nats versus Phillies game, which was a lot of fun. It was my first baseball game. So being able to see my colleagues, after work and enjoy some time with them was really great. So I think, as Thushan mentioned, the people is definitely the best part of the program. You're going to meet a lot of incredible people. And I think the best thing you can do is talk to those people and learn how to have great conversations with others. That's something that I think personally I've learned in college, coming from a formerly shy person, something that I really learned in college and find my most valuable skill.
I think next time I'm gonna go first because now it just sounds like I'm copying you two. But yeah, similar notes. The people that I got to meet during the fellowship were so incredible, and it's really nice to be around people that believe in you and are sure that you're capable of doing all of these things. I think we all talk a lot about mentorship, and I think we're going to talk about it later. But having a good mentor can really change, one, how you see yourself as an engineer or in your career in general, but two, also introduce you to other things that you're excited about. I also wanted to touch on how cool the internships actually are. I think in college it's hard to work on something related to outer space. And at my internship at Zeno, I got to conduct an impact testing analysis for a safety analysis report for an actual launch into outer space. And I would not have thought I would be even doing anything remotely similar to that 2 years ago, which is crazy. So yeah, I mean, if you want to work on something that's going to go into space, I definitely encourage you to apply. It's definitely an opportunity like no other.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. So as you all know, the application deadline is coming up very soon. It's January 3rd, and it will come up as sooner than you think. What are some of the application tips that you have for potential Z-Factor fellows in the call and those that will watch us later?
Definitely ask questions. I remember meeting with the founder and just asking her all the questions I had about the fellowship. This was my first internship. And I had never applied to a fellowship before. I didn't even think, I thought I was going to get an internship through some sort of online application, the standard upload your resume and cover letter and wait a month and hear no, that kind of thing. But going into this fellowship, I just remember feeling so excited about it because the application went really beyond what you normally see in a standard application for an opportunity, right? It was asking about, I think one of my questions was, in 10 years, you won some accomplishment. What is that? And that was my favorite one to write because I had so much creative liberty with it. And, it's weird to say I had fun writing the application. I got to write about what I was really excited about. And I think that's missing from a lot of applications, and it might be even excluding a lot of talent. And so my advice, a couple pieces of advice. One, definitely ask a lot of questions and don't be afraid to, go to the founders or the co-partners and ask whatever questions you have. They're definitely rooting for you. And then another good tip is to fuel your passion into your writing. Think about what it is you really want to see in space, what you want to do. And when you have that idea in your mind, start writing. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just put on whatever is on the paper, and then you can refine it later. But passion is really everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say for your essays, especially for the Z Factor Fellowship, don't be afraid to share your story. Your story is unique, and more importantly, it's yours. So don't shy away from talking about the experiences that made you who you are today. Like, what made you interested in space, and how did you get introduced to it? But then also talk about like your community, what excites you, what drives you. And I think there's a tendency to try to be this like perfect applicant for whatever you apply to. I think perfection is like an ongoing and collaborative process that occurs over time and with others. So I would say be yourself. I know it's cliche, but being authentic and being genuine is something that translates in your essays. And just be brave enough to take a chance on yourself and apply. I think that's probably the hardest thing about applying is getting over getting over yourself and actually taking that step to apply.
Yeah, I think, and really just to, I think this is a smooth transition from what Sumaiyah said about being yourself. So obviously with, essay writing and any type of writing, you want to know your audience. But I think it's important not to just write your essays, just, spitting out what you think they would like to hear. It's important to really reflect on your own experience. I think one of the essays was, how was your identifying as an underrepresented group make you a strong candidate for the aerospace community? And I think there'd be some version of that in your essay prompts as well. But with that topic, I think maybe it can be tempting to kind of repeat what's been said almost, just, with, because a lot of people have the same goals on that. So it can be tempting to kind of just, I don't want to say like, just fill it with like platitudes or anything like that, but really reflect on your own experiences, like for all of these essays, but for that essay in particular, it's really important to think about your experiences as in an underrepresented group, and what challenges you faced and how that made you into the person you are today, and why you think you're a good candidate for that role, for the aerospace community. And everyone's will be different in that regard, so it's important to really spend some time reflecting on that. And like Rishi said, I actually did enjoy writing the essays as well, because it kind of gave me the chance to really think about things and like really reflect on my goals and what I would like to see, and just my life really, and you can really pick apart things. And yeah, it's I think it's just the essay writing in itself is a valuable experience. So yeah, be yourself. It does sound cliche, but yeah, just spend some time really reflecting on that, and I think some of the details will kind of fall into place, as I'm sure it did with me, and I'm sure it did with some of the other fellows here. So
Thank you so much, everyone. Those are all great tips. And I think it's really important to emphasize that, like you need to write more of you than what you think the fellowship wants to hear, and just being honest and showing us who you are and what you're passionate about and what's your big why in the aerospace and your future goals. I think that really what, impresses the fellowship. And, throughout the process, it just helps you understand yourself better. That's what I felt. It felt like I was, asking myself all of these different questions that I would never ask myself, and I would write about it. So I've learned more about myself throughout the entire application process. And also, for the interviews that you will receive if you go past through the application phase and then become a finalist. For me personally, a lot of the interviews that I had, they skipped the initial screening round because, they're like, oh, you're a Z Factor fellow finalist. So, we might not need that. So it really like puts you ahead in the internship application process. It's really different if you apply for an internship at a company as a Z Factor fellow versus, by your own or by the website. So, that's like one of the perks of putting yourself in the application. I think that really shows all these companies that, you're more than just your GPA, you're more than just your transcript, and then you're more than just your achievements that you've put on the paper. So yeah, those are all great tips. Thank you so much, everyone. I think I'll move on to my last question, and then we'll open up the floor for more questions from you guys. So we also talked more about, our mentorship experience. Mentorship is also a great part of the fellowship. So if you could talk more about your experience from your mentors and what has been the most meaningful outcome from the mentorship that you've had through the fellowship.
All right. So yeah, I think as far as mentorship goes, I think some of my favorite experiences, and I think that it was more with my young professional mentor, which if you're not familiar, I think Rishi already mentioned there's a young professional mentor and an executive mentor through the fellowship. So my young professional mentor, he's really been on my side, just with, he's really on board with my goals and everything. But one of the more valuable sessions, I think he sort of challenges me on some of my views and stuff, and some of my goals. And I think that's important. I'd much rather have someone, straight talking to me than have, a yes man. And I remember, just because I had so many big ideas and I wanted to really implement them as soon as possible, it was really kind of very idealistic, and not that these things couldn't happen, but he really kind of told me about what, one step at a time, and these are some of the things that you can focus on now. And I think that was really valuable to hear. And these simple conversations, we often go just much longer than an hour, because I think I just text them almost every week. So it's been a valuable connection there with as far as mentorship. But I think the fact that people are on your side, and with these mentors, you can get some real information on how to proceed with your goals in a practical way. And yeah, I think that's one of the more valuable mentorship experiences that I had. So.
I can go next. I didn't want to cut anyone off. But yeah, I think all the Z Factor fellows say similar things about the mentorship program at the Z Factor Fellowship. I don't think any of us realized how much it would change our lives. I know, Simran, you talked about this a little bit prior. I also wanted to say that the Z Factor Fellowship provides mentorship outside of the 2 mentors that you're assigned with, which they do a really good job of assigning you to those mentors. Like, they read your essays and try to pair you up with people that either have similar experiences to you or have a career that you might want in the future. But yeah, everyone in the fellowship serves as a mentor for you. And for me specifically, everyone at the company that I interned at acted as a mentor for me. So at Zeno, Jake's the CTO of Zeno, and not only still listens to me complain about being a woman in STEM, but is always there to offer advice and guidance. And I think all of you will have a similar experience. A good mentor honestly changes the trajectory of your career and will help with other things too, like imposter syndrome or having the confidence to think that you're capable of being a good engineer. So on the other side, it also showed me like what a good mentor looks like, which is important for our community service projects, because now I understand like firsthand the impact you can have on someone when you take a genuine interest in that person. I would say that like the mentorship is actually one of the highlights of the fellowship, because the internship is for the summer or for the fall semester, but like the mentorship and that network kind of stays with you even after your internship is over, which I didn't know was gonna be like that, but it's definitely changed my life and how I see myself.
Yeah, for sure. To kind of highlight what Sumaiyah said about other mentors also being resources. I remember talking to Sumaiyah about one of her mentors who was working on something that I was interested in, and we've had so many great conversations. And I think one of the biggest amazing qualities about all these mentors is that they really care. These conversations are super like inspiring, and they really want to know what you're doing, what your goals are. They'll give you tips and advice, everything that you need. And it's really amazing to know that there are people out there that you've never met before that are rooting for you. And so definitely keep that in mind. And, talking with the mentor, it can be hard to find time, especially as a graduate student or undergraduate student, wherever you are. It can be hard to find time. And it was that for me, for like, in my case, it was hard to find time to talk to mentors sometimes. So I guess a piece of advice I have is to definitely see if you can block out some time, maybe once a month, to talk to your mentor, maybe even email if they're busy, because they're busy people too, and say, hey, these are some of the things I'm working on, or hey, what advice do you have for applying to this? Another thing is to definitely know that your company, your supervisor, CEO, all of those people are also amazing resources. I've had during the workday, my boss would always be asking me, hey, what do you need and help with regards to your community service project, or how can I help you with that? What support can I give you? And he went to his local, I think, high school teacher in his area in Arlington and emailed him saying, hey, I have a student who's doing this, working for me, and is there some interest here? So definitely talk to your company representatives. They're definitely also mentors because they've been in the industry probably just as long. So yeah.
Thank you, everyone. That's about all the questions that I had for you. So now we'll move on to the Q&A session. So if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself and talk to us or put your questions in the chat. I do see one question in the chat. Says, the Z Factor Fellowship open for master's students? Unfortunately, it's not. It's only open for undergraduate students that have over 30 plus credit hours. So you can be a freshman or not, because I know a lot of freshmen come with credits from high school as well. So you can still be a freshman and apply if you have more than 30 plus credit hours. But I recommend you to check out Matthew Isaacowitz Fellowship. I think that's open for master's students. And if you would like to, be involved with the Z Factor Fellowship, maybe you can take a look on being a young professional mentor for the fellowship as a master's student. And I put the link in the chat for the Matthew Isaacowitz Fellowship. But yeah, the Z Factor Fellowship is only open for undergrad students with 30 plus credit hours. Do you guys have any? Oh, I see someone unmuted themselves, sorry.
So I'm Cade, and I am interested in the aviation industry, not really aerospace. And I currently hold my private pilot's license, and I'm a freshman in college. And I have like 29 hours right now, but after next semester, I will have that more. So does that disqualify me from applying, or?
I'd like to take this one, Simran, if that's okay. So, Kay, like you, I also am very interested in aviation. I came into the fellowship interested in aviation, and I'm also trying to get my private pilot's license. So kudos
Okay.
to you for having that. No, that doesn't disqualify you from the fellowship. It is true that most of the host companies in the fellowship are space related, but there are a few companies such as Wisk, Aero, or AIA, the company that I work with, that actually offer aviation related opportunities. To give you some background, AIA is oversees a lot of different things from space policy to aviation and spectrum. And Wisk is an urban air mobility company. So they're basically developing an electric vertical takeoff or landing airplane to transport people from place to place. And so I would say with having that private pilot background, you already have a really strong sense of knowledge of how things fly.
Yeah.
And you can definitely bring that into to the fellowship, because certainly there's definitely other people in these companies that also have their private pilot's license. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Rishi. Thanks for handling that. Also, I see two co-founders of the Z Factor Fellowship in the call. If you guys would like to chime in about the credit hours, I'm pretty sure that would not disqualify you if you have 29 credit hours, but if you guys have any other thoughts.
Yeah, I just double checked just for you, Kate, and you're fine with 29.
Okay, awesome. I hope that answers your question. All right. And see, yes, go ahead.
Hi, I'm an international student, so I heard that you are also Simran. So I was just wondering, will there be host companies this year as well that offer positions for like international students?
Yeah, so the Z Factor Fellowship has around 4 or 5, I need to double check on that, but 4 or 5 companies that do hire international students. I would like to highlight the fact that it might be different if you are an international student in the US versus an international student outside of the US, because I know for a fact that if you are an international student in the US, you can use your F1 or J1 visa to apply for CPT or OPT opportunities that allows you to work in summer internship within aerospace, or like within the area that you are declaring your bachelor's degree in. But if you are an international student residing outside of the US, you might have to, work it on your way to get the visa that you want to come to the US in the first place. But if the host companies are willing to sponsor a visa, or are willing to, take you as someone who is not from the US and still is very passionate to work in their company, and if they want you to work with them, I'm pretty sure that they're very open to, let you come to the US and help you with the visa process. But in my opinion and my personal experience, I've seen it easier to be an international student in the US and work in the US space industry versus residing outside of the US. But again, that does not disqualify you from applying. You never know what's in store for you unless you apply, and you never know who sees something in you that will literally quite change your life. So even if you are an international student outside of the US, please don't let that deter you from applying, because I see even if there's like very low chances, for me, even as an international student, when I applied, I knew that I had very low chances, but I still applied, not knowing that I'll get in, but I got in. And, that really put myself in the industry and gave me the first internship experience. So I don't know if that helps, but please apply.
That's great. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
and let me know if you have any questions. I'm available outside of this session to chat more.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Nancy, I saw you unmuted yourself before. Yeah.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for so much for your insight. Just curious, if any of you had any tips regarding conquering the imposter syndrome, whether it be comparing yourself academically or just getting over that fear to apply for internships?
I can take this one. I think everyone kind of deals with imposter syndrome to some extent, and that's completely normal. It's especially for like high achieving minority groups, like being a woman of color or being just a woman in STEM in general, working in a male-dominated field, feeling like you don't belong or feeling like you just got lucky. That was always my thing. Like whether it was with the fellowship or my NASA thing, I always told myself that I just got here by luck. But I'm telling all of you right now that whatever you offered, you're 100% deserving and capable of doing those tasks because you were selected for a reason. So don't fall into the trap of undermining your accomplishments because you worked really hard and it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. I think it's definitely hard to get over yourself and apply. And that's probably the hardest part, but I would say just apply and be yourself, be authentic and be unique. Worst case scenario is not even that bad. You wrote some really great essays too. Yeah, so definitely apply. And then also try to seek out other people that might have similar experiences that you can talk to about them. Like I know my mentor, my young executive mentor, worked at Lockheed Martin, and she had similar experiences about being a woman in STEM. And it was nice to finally talk to someone who understood a lot of the struggles that I had felt in college. So yeah, don't be afraid to reach out. You can always use me as a resource. I'll put my LinkedIn in the chat. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else wants to add. I think we've all talked about imposter syndrome to some extent. I remember talking to, I think, Rishi about it when I saw you in person. Forced him to baseball with me.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. It was awesome because it affects us so much. It affects me. I'll speak from my experience. Something I struggle with even now, like, is comparing myself to others academically. You know, I'm in a pretty tough engineering program, and you know, a lot of the times it can be a real one. You know, when you feel like you're working really hard and not getting the results that you think you're supposed to be getting, it can feel a little defeating. But you know, there's something that I saw on LinkedIn, and it was a quote saying, you know, if whatever you're in, it doesn't have to be engineering, it can be anything. By the way, you know, it's applying to the fellowship isn't limited to just engineers. We've had graphic designers and art majors, like people who are not necessarily in the STEM field, but are in the aerospace industry, which is a really good shift. But essentially what I read was like, you know, if you're not struggling enough in college, then if everything is easy and you're getting all A's and everything, then you're not being challenged enough. And that's not necessarily a good thing. It's important to be challenged, because when you do graduate, you're going to look back at all those all-nighters. Please don't take many, but you're going to look back and you're going to be really, really proud of yourself. I promise. So keep going, believe in yourself. I believe in all you guys. And I will also drop my link in the chat if you guys want to talk anytime.
Yeah, I also have a lot of imposter syndrome. One thing that really helps me is, how do I put it in words? It's separating my feelings from the fact. So, you know, I feel a lot of different things. Like I feel like I'm not capable. I feel like I've received all of the achievements because I got lucky. Like Sumaiyah said, like I always compare my achievements to luck. Or, you know, like sometimes it's really bad, but I feel like, you know, I got selected for this internship because I'm a woman and they want, you know, more diversity in their company, which is not true, right? Those are my feelings. But the fact is I'm capable. That's why they gave me the internship. The fact is, you know, no matter how much I try to compare myself, I'm still enough. That's a fact, right? And I always try to write it down, like write your feelings and the fact, because the feelings and the fact are completely different things when you have imposter syndrome. And that really, really helps me out. And also, when I stopped comparing myself to others, I think that's also something that helped me out, because, you know, the things that you see on social media, LinkedIn, you know, those are all of the highlights or, you know, reels of someone's life that they want to put out for the rest of the world. But what you don't see is the struggles that go behind it, is the failures, is the bad days, right? So don't compare yourself to someone on social media. You can use them as role models and, you know, inspiration, but never try to compare your achievements to someone else's on social media or LinkedIn. I think that really puts you down in the hole that you don't want to be in. So yeah, I was also like, use me as a resource. All of the fellows in general. Like we're so open to help everyone, and the fact that we share so many similar experiences makes us relatable to everyone. And during the summit we also talked about imposter syndrome, and I remember a lot of fellows cried too, and we were so vulnerable towards one another, and we've shared a lot of our life experiences, and it's just one close-knit family that we have. And just hit us up anytime you feel throughout the application process that you don't feel capable or enough to apply, and we'll help you push past that, because we've definitely felt some of the things that you felt before. So
if I could add on really quick before we wrap up, I also wanted to say that when you think about what you were saying, Simran, like differentiating feelings versus facts, it's not bragging to acknowledge that you're good at something. Like, you know what I mean? You've come this far. Like, just studying engineering in general is not easy. And that in of itself is an accomplishment. And it's not bragging to say that you're intelligent and that you're capable or that you are deserving of like accomplishing your big dreams. Yeah, and it's okay to suffer from imposter syndrome. It's completely normal. It's not specific to you. And it's not gonna be an everyday thing. Everyone has bad days, and that's okay. But yeah, definitely reach out to people, and we'd be happy to help you work through it.
okay, any other questions? Do you guys have any questions about the application in itself, like some of the essay prompts or letters of rec, or any feedback on the session that we had today?
I have a question about like the essay prompts. So do you want us to write like direct essays, or have like, for example, like make like well, this is just an idea, like an article template, and then have like my essay in it kind of, or more like a straightforward like Word document? Just wanted to know about that.
Are you asking for a specific prompt, or because I know there's
Okay,
like
so
write
like
an
for
article.
example, yeah, write an article about your like lifetime achievement or something like that. Yeah, I was like thinking, can you like go through a more creative approach, or does it need to be like a straightforward written answer?
Oh yeah. Okay, got it. So for me, I know that like the rest of the essays you can like write as conventional essays and like traditional essays, and go and do it if you feel like it. But for me, I think I used Canva to like make a a template that looked like a newspaper. So like I put my essay in there. So like my essay for that prompt was like a Canva document. So feel free to be as creative as you want, or if you want to write like a traditional essay for that, yeah, be creative. Okay. Yeah, anything works.
And this is
Awesome.
Ryan. I'm one of the founding partners. Yes, you can be as creative as you want. Just don't go over the 350 word limit. That's all. Thanks.
Okay.
To give another idea of something like I did, I wrote an article, kind of like in a format of what a journal article would be, about how in the future, like the 2030s or something, I was leading like a group at NASA and discovering life. So really be creative with it. It's kind of goes back to having fun with it, because you have a lot of creative liberty. I'm glad Simran shared the Canva idea, because that's a very creative way to do it. So yeah, take your time and see what you want to do.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, any last minute questions? All right. If you don't have any more questions, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I hope this was helpful, and hope this gives you that last minute inspiration and boost to apply. So thank you so much for joining, and thank you for our amazing panelists, Rishi, Sumaiyah, and Thushan. You guys did wonderful. All right, Thushan, you can stop recording.
Okay.